I can tell you what he was like when he was a teenager, and he was like any teenager. He was funny. He was kind. He was giving. He was a prankster, and he loved to tell jokes, and he loved to be a jokester. And then addiction and the grieving process, because you're grieving. And any family who is going through relatives that are in an addiction, your grieving begins then. And you're constantly wondering when the phone call is going to come, when the phone call is going to come. And I got the phone call. But you say that, kind of callously and without real thought, because you're expecting a phone call, but you say that, but you don't want that phone call, because as long as the phone call stays away, there's hope. You have a little bit of hope that someday your son, who you carried inside of you, your son who you loved, my son, my child. Of course, I can say that he was a beautiful child, and he was. He was probably the prettiest baby ever born, because he was extremely good looking. I loved him. I loved him. I loved him. I was estranged from him for the past 5, 6 years. But there was nothing left to Seamus, who I knew. There was just an addiction. Seamus died a horrific death. Seamus had a influenza virus that turned into a bacterial infection. He became septic. He was, every organ in his body shut down. He's a young man, an addicted young man. Yes, he was in jail. Look, he's not wearing wings. He is wearing wings on his back now, isn't he? I'm just saying, he was my son. He was my son, and I loved him. And I still love him. I really don't think that everyone's looking at me right now, the public. I really don't think that we look at addiction as a mental illness. I really don't think you believe it. Oh, did he think of me at the last moments? Did he want his mom?
What do you know about what care he may have received in the lead up to that day?
I don't know. I don't know if he received any care. I just don't know.
Have you ever heard anything from the Department of Justice or from the head of prisons at HMP?
No. I was so surprised that I called the penitentiary and the day after his funeral, and no, the day of his funeral actually, and said that I would like to pick up his belongings, and that I was on my way in, and that I couldn't go that day, that they had to put it together. So they gave me a time to go the next day, and I went, and I asked, did anyone want to speak to me? Did the warden, maybe, I don't know if they're called wardens, but did the warden want to speak to me about anything? No, no one wanted to speak to me. No one wanted to. You would think that the supervisor or the warden would have spoke to me, but not to express his condolences, if nothing else. That was it. I never spoke to anyone. I never spoke to anyone.